So in this video, I'm going to introduce you to our finance concepts. And the first thing we're going to talk about what we call interest. And interest itself, or what we'll start off with simple interest, is just a fee paid upon money that is borrowed or invested. And basically interest is just equal to, we call it I. I is equal to PRT. And P stands for the principal. And your principal is how much you're actually investing, or when you take out money, you're loaning to what you're borrowing. So this is basically initial investment you're making. And then that investment is going to accumulate at a certain rate over a certain period of time. So R stands for your rate, and it's expressed as a decimal. So generally it's a percentage, and it'll be expressed as a decimal. And T stands for your time, and we express time in years. So in this formula then, remember interest is just some fee. It's a fee. And so to calculate simple interest, here's an example. We're going to compute the interest on a loan of $500 at 8% for 6 months. So the first thing we always want to do is we want to identify the actual variables within the problem. And we see that our principal, you're going to loan out of $500. So that is the principal P. That's the amount being borrowed. And then the rate here, R, 8% expressed as a decimal is 0.08. And T, time, we want to write our time 6 months in years. So T is equal to 0.5 years. It's 0.5 years. Always express that as years. And so the interest, I is equal to, remember, P, R, T. So here, I is equal to 500 times 0.08 times 0.5. Calculating that, I get I is equal to $20. So the amount of interest that accumulated on this particular loan in half a year, basically, at 8% interest is $20. Now, so we can calculate interest, then we can also calculate the total amount due, because your total amount due on any particular loan or any particular payment or any particular investment is what we say. When we say this will be equal to A, which is called the total amount or your balance. A is equal to, well, how much you borrowed, which remember, that's just P, plus the interest that you have to pay on it. So we're calling that I. So P plus I is equal to this, or a simpler way of writing this is you have to pay A is equal to P times 1 plus R times T. And this formula actually comes from substituting in for the interest. We know I, and we work this out, A is equal to P plus, well, we know I is just PRT. Since both these terms have a P in it, we can factor the P out algebraically. And we get A is equal to P times, when you factor P out of here, you're left with just a 1. Plus, and when you factor P out of here, you're left with just RT. So that's where that formula comes from. And if you distribute the P back in, you're going to get this original formula. And here, your A is what we call our ending balance. Or in the case of a loan, it's called the amount due. So, as an example, it says find the total amount due on a loan at $800 at 9% simple interest at the end of 4 months. So again, what we're going to calculate is A, and we know A is equal to, we're going to use the second formula, A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. And so we need to identify all of these variables here. So your A, so when we do this, we have P equal to, well, we borrowed $800. And we have an R rate expressed as a decimal, 0.09. And our T, our time in years, remember, we have to write 4 months in years. So there's 12 months in a year. So 4 divided by 12 is equal to 1/3 years. So when we write this out, plugging in what we know A is equal to 800 times 1 plus your R, 0.09, times your T, which is 1/3. So when we calculate this, we're going to calculate, in this particular problem, we're always going to calculate the inside of this first. And in particular, we want to calculate this part first right here. So I want to do 0.09 times 1/3 first. When I do just that part here, I get this equal to 0.03. And so now I have A is equal to 800 times 1 plus 0.03. So finishing that up, 800 times 1 plus 0.03 is 1.03. When I multiply 800 by 1.03, I'm going to have to pay back $824. And if you want to, you can actually go calculate simple interest first. And simple interest would be just 800 times the rate, 0.09. So 800 times 0.09 times 1/3. If you do that, you get 24. And all you're doing is you're adding the 24 back to the already amount that you owed.